just, small issues turning into major costly repairs. It's also things like stopping production, right? Or,
Yep.
missing a deadline and, taking on that penalty, or, God forbid, a safety, right?
Yep.
Safety issue or safety event that happens. We want to make sure we avoid, any and all safety events that are possible. So there's a lot of undesirable outcomes as a result of not capturing not capturing those small issues or being proactive about getting maintenance done. The trickle down effect that could happen to the organization is pretty costly, both in the short term, event driven, but even in the long term in terms of, the overall profitability of the company.
Yep. And I know preventative maintenance schedules is something that we touched on. And I think sometimes that's probably a little bit of a daunting task when you think of, some of these larger fleets and getting everything scheduled out and planned out and actually putting that into effect. Can you kind of speak a little bit about what we do on our end to help maybe reduce that burden, when somebody's looking to implement these preventative maintenance schedules across their entire fleet?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the very first and foremost is we kind of take that heavy lifting off your shoulders, and we set up all of your maintenance schedules, and we automate all of them. We have a library of thousands of maintenance inspection checklists and inspection forms. And we create custom forms, to whatever your need is. So that's just that setup process of automating all of that, getting all of your maintenance forms in one place, getting all of your schedules in one place, associating with equipment classes and serial numbers. We take all that heavy lifting off your shoulders. And then the other thing we do is, let's say you have 2, 3, 4, 5 different telematics solutions, and then you have assets that, aren't connected to telematics. We connect to all of those platforms and we aggregate them all in one place, and we normalize that information so that, we can trigger the maintenance intervals and the maintenance events off of the hours that are coming off of telematics, right? So those are two things we do just sort of in the setup process that sets you up for success when it comes to maintenance schedules. The third thing that we do is the whole assigning out of the maintenance interval or the maintenance task. And so for a lot of folks, that happens not just with their internal resources, but it also happens with third-party dealers, rental companies, service providers. And you can manage that all here in one place. So you can assign maintenance intervals out to your dealer, to your rental company, to your third-party service provider, and you can assign those tasks out to internal resources as well. So you've got this really nice mixed, it works the way you work, right? You have a mixed bag of internal and external technicians that are doing maintenance intervals for you. This is a way to bring that all into one centralized location.
Yep. No, and I think, that's kind of the big thing is it's not just, hey, go figure it out. It's really guiding you through the entire process and ensuring, that the solution is working and functioning exactly as, every business is going to be a little bit different and every situation is going to be unique. And so that's really where we sit here in our roles to help kind of guide and streamline that so that when it is rolled out, it's working and functioning exactly as that particular business needs. Can you talk a little bit, I guess, in terms of, I know you mentioned aggregation there, when we talk about mixed fleets or, owned versus rented and kind of what that looks like within the Activate solution?
Yeah, sure. So when we talk about mixed fleets and owned versus rented, our customers are tracking everything, either owned equipment, their rented equipment, as I mentioned before, all different asset classes and types. Everything from, handsaws to excavators to on-highway tractor trailers to pickup trucks to barges, and everything in between in Activate. And so we very much support all asset types. We also very much support all brands. And then, we're agnostic from a telematics perspective, as I mentioned before. So we can pull into a single pane of glass or a single dashboard, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different telematics solutions. If you've got OEM solutions on, if you've got third parties, if you've got the Vision Links and the Samsars and the Comtracts and Verizons of the world, or Geotabs of the world, you've got it on a mixed fleet. We can bring that all into a single location, so that you can manage all of that information and execute all of these workflows we're talking about, whether it's inspection or maintenance or fueling or asset scheduling. We can manage that all here with that information.